Hey everybody, James Yeager with Tactical Response. Thanks for watching. I'm out here in a very wet, on a very wet range. Here at my range, we're doing a bug out weekend, bug out camp out weekend for alumni only, and expecting about 40 people to show up. It rained the last 3 days and just stopped raining at 9 a.m. about 8 a.m. when we were supposed to start. So the blue skies out. It's supposed to stay sunny until tomorrow afternoon about 3 and start raining again. So it's wet, but it's not raining right now. And I'm going to set up this UP-5 Russian bear tent from Bereg. And the first part I'm going to use is this quilted floor. I've never used it before, and it says you can put it on the ground as a ground pad or inside the like a carpet inside as an insulating layer. It was supposed to get down to 20 tonight, and I was actually wanting it to be colder. That's Fahrenheit for all you Russians that are listening. But it looks like it's going to get down to about 30, which is still cold, but not really cold enough to need a fire. But I'm going to do it anyway because I brought all this shit out here. Right off the bat, this is reversible. It appears to be reversible for the green side out or the kind of almost a real tree camo side out. So right off the bat, I'm kind of impressed. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna see if it's oriented in a certain direction. I assume those are, I'm assuming those are a placement for a stove. If the lens gets kind of foggy, I've been waiting for about an hour with the camera in the sun to get it to stop fogging up. So I apologize for that. So this is the footprint for the tent. It's kind of hard to tell when I'm in the tent how big it is, but this is an 8-man tent, and this is not an American 8-man tent. So if you can see, there are these triangles that are sewn into it just to make up the pattern, but it just happens to be that there's 8 of those triangles. So each person gets this much room inside the tent. That means somebody would have to sleep in front of the door or whatever, but that's still that's pretty big, and you can stand up in this thing. All right, so now to get the rest of the tent out. So here's the tent. It's pretty easy to put up. If you haven't watched my video about it before, it's a lot like putting up an umbrella. Great bag. Super heavy duty bag. Spare parts. More spare parts in the bag. Try to get it centered here. Looks like close. Then unfold around. Good, the door's facing this way. I wanted the door facing this way. Now to pick it up and open the umbrella. It's not that hard. It's kind of awkward for me, but not that hard. That's it. That's it. Goes up that fast. Now I need to stake it down and all that, but that's it. Very cool. It's very cool. So this is the first time I put all the stakes in it. Took longer than I thought, probably 25 or 30 minutes, but it's done now as far as that part. Put the door on and it's pretty much the assembly of the tent. So as you can see, with just the doors open, it gets pretty breezy in there. And of course there's a wind, there's a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind blowing. I haven't opened any of the windows or the stove jack. The stove jack is over here on the side. It's what looks like the small window, and this is where the stovepipe will come through. And there's toggles to tie this up, to roll it up, keep it out of the way. Almost feels like I should have done this before I put the tent up. Or maybe I should have been a foot taller. That might have helped. And so there's a metal ring. This is a dual wall tent. So there's a metal ring on the outside one and a metal ring on the inside, surrounded by this fireproof material here. And so I get the stove in there and get through the jack. So on a previous video, I was talking about this umbrella stick. It unscrews off here. I was goofing around. I think people took me too seriously. But I'm gonna put the stove in now and put this somewhere for safekeeping. But as you can see, this has this fire resistance section here. Velcro off, but this is where the stove goes. This is the only stove jack in the tent, even though it's kind of a mirror image opposite on both ends, windows and doors. This is it for the stove jack, which is fine. How many do you need? You can orient the tent whichever way you want. So even if the stove was here, there's still plenty of room for you to get it in and out the door. So when I did the video about the stove the other day, a lot of people had ideas on these heat shields. They said protect the glass. That's not what they're for. Lars, who is obviously smarter but not as good looking as me, told me what was up with the stovepipe being on the front of the stove, and it made perfect sense. He said when the stove is in place, if the pipe is at the back, it will be too close to the wall. So they put it at the front so it's further away from the wall. Of course. Legs, pipes, gloves. I didn't put that back in the bag. Alright, I'll just flip it over real quick, get the legs on. I'm not worried, I'm not going to be careless with it, but I don't have to be careful with this either. It's very robust, as is the tent and everything else. Again, the legs going pretty easy. I'm glad I did the video in the studio the other day, because I don't know exactly how well you can see all this, lighting, etc. But that's the legs on there. Turn this up. I'm going to go ahead and take this heat shield off, because I know my grandkids are going to want to see the fire. Maybe I will too. And I don't want to mess with it while it's hot. I'll put this somewhere where it doesn't get bent in a few minutes. Again, the stove door and all that. Now, I haven't done this part, so I don't know exactly what the smart way to do it is. I know what I think I should do. Put the pipes together, put it through the roof, attach the stove jack, and then set it up. I don't know exactly how that's going to work out, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to go out now and put the spark arrestor rain fly thing on. Be right back. Lickety split. And now I think I'm going to put this on the stove. I got one loose up here, but it's all good. I didn't force it down real hard. Well, that's it. The stove is in place. I can move it back just a little bit. Yeah, that looks perpendicular. The fire blanket thing I'm going to put here into the front. That way I can snatch it out if I have to, and overlaps the protective material already in here. And I guess I have a stove. I'll do some fine tuning on the pipes and all, but I think we're pretty good. Here is the jack and the pipe outside the tent. I think it's good to go. Well, it's very windy. It's a lull right now. It's very windy today, very gusty, with 10-15 mile an hour breezes and gusts coming through. And so the first time I put every guy wire out on this thing, and I'm looking. So it's a beautiful day out here. You can see people are showing up. There were a couple of guys that stayed here last night. Daniel Klingman, the world's coldest fire maker, and there's Corey Sachs has got the truck with the rooftop tent. There's some guys up on the halfway up the ridge trying to stay out of the rain. It's supposed to stop raining for now, blue sky, but in about 26 6 hours. Tomorrow afternoon it's supposed to start raining again all night. And so when people are asking me where they should pitch a tent, I'm telling them high ground. And so we got several people doing several things. I think we have at least one hammock camper out here. Guys in single wall 3-season tents out here. The rooftop tent. You see there's a toy hauler down there with it's got beds inside of it. So and people sleep in their cars. So several different methods and modes of sleep and stuff. So everybody's testing gear out and stuff. So it should be fun. It was supposed to be 40 degrees during the day and in the mid to lower 20s at night. I thought this is going to be a great test. It looks like it's going to be 50 something today. It's very warm out now. And in the 40s tonight. Now, I don't need a fire at all in the 40s. Even if I didn't have a tent, I don't need a fire at all. I got that Nemo sleeping bag from Camp Saver. That thing is legit. But so what's up is I'm probably going to build a fire anyway. It's probably going to be 115 degrees in that tent. But I brought it out to test the fucking stove, and I'm going to test the fucking stove. So we'll see. We'll see what's up. I think that's all the news I have right now. I will report back later, but everything's going good so far at the alumni weekend camp out, bug out. Looking at the other tents and stuff, and they're, you know, small tents and stuff, and they're flapping and stuff like that. This thing is not moving, like, at all. I mean, like none. So I mean, I'm sure it would with a heavier wind, but like these 15-mile-an-hour gusts, it's not even threatening to move a little bit. So pretty sturdy. Good morning, everybody. So it got down to, we'll call it 30 Fahrenheit last night, and I stayed too warm most of the night. The fire took me a couple of burns to kind of regulate the temperature and stuff, and one of the little half moon windows, basically you know, of course, if it gets colder, you'll have to do different stuff. But at about 30, I would fill it up, the firebox up with wood, put the cap on, close it all the way, like all the way, open one of the windows, and it was a good temperature in here with it closed all the way and one of the windows open. It was a good temperature. That's how effective this stove is. I entertained guests last night. I think at the highest point there were 7 of us in here, and we had to have a door open, window open, both windows open and door open and all that. And so there's no problem with this stove keeping this tent warm. Like, no problem at all. So it's actually really really cool. So what I found out was, if I stacked about 3 of these in there, something about that much wood, and throttle it, carbureted it all the way down, that it would last. It would burn about kind of a smoldering burn for about 2.5 hours. And so again, I only did this one night, so I'm still trying to work it out. But so it means that somebody would have to stoke the fire about every 2 or 3 hours, something like that. I never filled the firebox like completely up. I only filled it up maybe 75%. I don't want to try to actually just fill it all the way up, but maybe you could squeeze 3 to 3.5 hours out of it, but that's fine. I put a kettle on here, and it never boiled, as far as I know. It never boiled, but I did have it stoked, choked all the way back, so it really wasn't putting out very much heat. So if you wanted to cook, open that thing up, and I'm sure it would cook up there, no problem at all. I can hear the other alumni out there now stirring and talking and stuff. So I slept in just that Nemo bag on the floor, and I did that on purpose. So I have the insulated footprint under the tent, and then of course the tent floor. So I didn't have any kind of sleeping pad for the Nemo. I did that on purpose to see how effective, because if you lay directly on the ground, it's super cold. That insulating footprint, again, at 30 degrees, I did not feel any cold through the bottom of the bag. And so I wanted to sleep as close to that thing as I could. And the Nemo bag is really good, but no bag is really good when you're laying on the ground side. So having that insulating footprint under this thing is a legitimate cold weather addition. So, because as you're looking to buy one of these tents, you might be thinking, I don't know if I really need the stove. I don't know if I need the insulating floor. I get that. I didn't know how effective, useful, worthwhile any of these things would be. I didn't know how worthwhile this tent would be. I just saw Lars at Survival Russia. I just saw his videos and thought it was really cool. This is the best fucking cold weather tent you can buy. I've been in a bunch of tents. I've got a bunch of tents. I've been to any number of campouts. I've seen people's cold weather gear. There's a bunch of people here that are into cold weather camping that have never seen anything like this tent. So it's a pretty amazing piece of kit. All right, good morning, everybody. Didn't comb my beard out. Hope it looks good. So this is the morning of day 2 in the tent. I slept on the ground the first night, testing the secondary floor, the insulated floor. I didn't get cold at all, but it's rocky and bumpy here. So night 2, I used a cot, but stayed fine. Night 1, I kept the fire like one hole out. It's got a ring of holes around it, like one hole out. And if you stood up, your head would get really hot. Heat rises, of course. So I slept with one of the semicircle windows open. I had to figure out kind of how to regulate the heat. It was about 35 the first night. Last night it was about 25, and what I did was one window open, this closed all the way, and even with this closed all the way, because it's not a super tight fit, it'll still draft some air in, maybe by design. And so what I found out was trying to figure out how long the fire will last and stuff like that. If I stack this thing about 80% full and close it off, it will maintain plenty of heat for this tent for about 4 hours. And so that was one of the things I really wanted to find out, was how long could I leave it, on auto mode and it still produce heat. And and I haven't had this thing turned up all the way ever. I mean, the whole 2 days I've been here, the farthest this thing's been out, other than starting the fire, was one hole out. So and so you can see the last time I filled it up was over 4 hours ago, and this handle doesn't get hot, but I think you can see in there, and it's still full of coals and still producing a lot of heat. And I'll probably leave that door off now so it burns down faster. The only thing this doesn't have, I went to my house and got mine, is an ash shovel and the bucket. So put the coals, maybe some of the coals are hot, into. So I brought my ash bucket at home and filled it up with ash and coals, whatever leftover coals were yesterday, and set it out back. I didn't dump it out. A lot of fires have been started by dumping out ashes, and so I left them in the bucket overnight. And then these I will make sure that I douse with water and cover with dirt and all that stuff, so I won't start a forest fire. So the things I was looking for, because this is the coldest it's ever been while I've been in this tent, was how well does the floor work? Great. How well does the stove work? Great. I didn't really have any other, because I've already stayed in it several times, just not when it was cold. I already knew all the other features and everything, and I'm happy with the tent. There is about 50 people here at the Bug Out Alumni Weekend, and most everybody came into the tent, or at least stuck their head in. And I entertained guests both nights, and everybody was very complimentary of the tent, loved it, how much does it cost, and where did you get it, and all that. So it's a crowd pleaser. Like people like it, and the fact you can stand up in it and change clothes and all that over a little bitty tent, like a regular backpack tent, is a big plus for a lot of folks. Yeah, I can get dressed laying down in a tent. I can. It just sucks. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to report on. Not really. I mean, I just want to get this out of the way and talk about the tent. If you have questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them as quickly and efficiently as possible. I hear people starting to rummage around out there now. If you are an alumnus and alumni and you want to come to the Bug Out Weekend, we usually do it around New Year's each year. This is I think the fourth one, and just kind of started out as me going to go camp by myself. I said, hey, does anybody else want to go? And kind of turned into this thing. And so that period of time after Christmas, but before everybody gets back to work, that weird week or whatever, that's usually when we do it. It gives us something to do, fill up time. I think that's it. I appreciate you guys watching. This is James Yeager for Tactical Response, reminding you that your responsibility to be ready for the fight never ends.